Ba-ba-da-ba. Okay. Massive pot of coffee. And we should be live. Not too late, am I? No. Okay. Good. Let's pop out the chat. Hey, Moondog. Hey, Youth. Hey, Matt. Hey, Robert. Happy Halloween. Whoa. Let me put up my little super chat sign. My baking bowl. Why all crap? Also, hello. Hey, King Dragon. Hey, Robert. Hey, Voices of the Dark. From the Dark. Alexander. Shakescan. Varen. Yep, you finally caught a live stream. Congratulations. Fairgrounds. Die-bye. Nikolai, Voices from the Dark, says, oh, I thought you were wearing a mask. Oh, harsh. No, I just look like Mario for some reason. Hey, Sir William. You're building a doghouse. Nice. Long-time lurker, great fan of your content. Oh, thanks, MJP. Promo Man, hello. The Cleric Go Corner, hello. Topic for today is trick or treat. So this is in reference to how I think we're going to get a spell jammer, star jammer, astral jammer sort of mix-up thingy, where the astral plane has become the phlogiston sort of thing. That's what I think we're looking at with 5th edition. Hello to your cat too. What do I think about the new edition coming? I'm looking forward to it. It's really 5.5, let's face it. Nice coffee mug, yeah. I felt inadequate because I was gaming with some American friends and they've all got these massive big water containers that they're sipping from like lemmings all the time. And I was just like drinking coffee and I thought I need a big like container thingy because obviously Americans expect me to drink from some huge thing. So this has got like 4 cups of coffee in here. Ooh, hardcover Rifts Ultimate Edition for my birthday. Nice. Nice one. Yeah. So I don't think we're going to see the phlogiston because, first of all, phlogiston is just hard to say and it's weird and I don't know if new players of the game really understand why phlogiston would be a thing. Wizards of the Coast kind of like dropped phlogiston and Spelljammer for being too quirky and weird, but they've sort of brought back quirky and weird for 5th edition. You know, whimsy, you could say. But, yeah, astral jamming is... We got a hint of that with the Baldur's Gate 3, with the Dreadnought, the Nautilus, the Mindflayer Nautilus, which was zipping in and out of portals. And that looked very much like what we would expect spelljamming to look like in a magic-rich environment where they can just pop from one reality to another. Why go to all the bother of going outside into crystal sphere space and stuff like that? So it may just be that the crystal spheres are actually floating in the astral sea. Yeah, Wizards of the Coast remixer stuff. I'm okay with this. I'm fine with this. We've had many different iterations of things, and it makes sense that it would be more in line with their general cosmology. Oh, thanks, Ryan. You're welcome. Also, a big thanks to everybody for the 100,000 subscribers. Finally, after many years. We got there. Down under London, good morning from the bottom of the world, New Zealand. Yeah, well, we could be the top of the world. You never know. Oh, yeah, the Cobra Dragon. I might do a remake of... I've got a lot of remakes of videos coming up. I've got a remaster list on my wall here, which is popular videos which are getting remastered soon. I've also got a redone list of things. I've got some creases from old Fiendfolio and stuff which I need to do videos on, and also I'm working my way through lists, lots of remastered ones on there. You can see the brackets RM for remastered videos, but there's so much more content, you know. Yeah, it's true. Well, it's funny because they like keep having to get up and go and pee, you know, from drinking the water from the huge big water cup thingies when they're gaming. It's just like, you don't need to drink that much water, man. That's your body telling you that you're getting rid of water because you don't need it. You don't have to have a constant flow of water going through your system. It's, you know, your body is very, very efficient. Yeah, I've reading through the amazing comments in that 100k video. Very, very encouraging. Very heartwarming. Zizek, haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, so Halloween in New Zealand is kind of weird. It's a very white middle upper class neighborhood phenomena in cities. So like pretty much Auckland, Christchurch, Dunedin, in set sort of neighborhoods where everybody sort of like knows each other and stuff. They'll have these Halloween event thingies going on because the kids are basically sold candy and costumes and stuff like that. They have no idea what the Halloween celebration is actually about. They have no idea what it's for, like what its origins are or what it means or anything, because it makes no sense in New Zealand to have pumpkins and spider webs and all this sort of stuff, because it's not fall, it's springtime here. It's the height of spring. Everything is flowers and blossoms and stuff bursting out of the ground. It's the exact opposite time of the year. Same thing with like Christmas. Christmas, we spray snow, fake snow on our windows and things like that because it's the height of summer. You know, it's so weird. And we have we used to celebrate Guy Fawkes and let off fireworks and things like that. But recently it's just been like, why are we doing this? Like, we need our own holidays. So we do. We've got our own holidays in New Zealand now. The original pumpkin was a turnip. Yeah, well, it's a large part of our heritage too. But yeah, Christmas, for instance, is like part of my Scandinavian heritage, but it's very much westernized, and we get the commercialized version of it, and it's in the middle of summer. You can imagine how weird Christmas in the middle of summer would be if you were over here, right? So it's barbecues, salads, like cold cut ham and things like that. The idea of like a hot meal, ugh. But we try. We have a big feast, and then we just lie around, lazing around, sleeping all day because we're just overfed. Yeah, Americans would have twice as big of a cup. Well, the truth is, I'm quite a fairly large person. Um, where do I need something for comparison? I don't know. A bit of Sharpie pen. Fairly large person. I don't know if that's any thingy. Yeah, it is strange. We don't really have a lot of winter holidays. Winter time is where we have very few public holidays, and we basically just work and work and work. Our daytimes are shorter in the wintertime, and we don't tend to have a lot of public holidays. Summertime, we pack as many sort of public holidays in as we can. A lot more like compulsory holidays, time off work than Americans would be used to. Yeah. Smoked brisket on Christmas. AJ, what do you do to make your players uneasy for horror? Basically, I just don't I explain things and the environment and don't tell them what's going on, so that they'll become hyper focused on a sound or something they think is there, and that basically I just let their imagination take over. AJ's big hands. Yeah, it's because I'm half hobbit, so I have big hands and feet. Yeah, that's right. One of my lore videos did have fireworks and going off in the background of it. Yeah, it was weird and distorted. Yeah, we don't have Thanksgiving. We've got Waitangi Day, which celebrates the Treaty of Waitangi, which is the basically treaty between the Maori and the Crown, so the Queen and the Maori people of New Zealand. It's an ongoing process. Um, our co-culture here in New Zealand. You don't fit in the doghouse. No, you don't see my feet. No, they're there. I have feet. Like most YouTubers, it's questionable whether my feet exist. Yeah, the books. I did once have a comment that I could carry an enormous amount of books in my hand. Hang on. So yeah, I have the ability to carry many books. Part of the sage thing. You get book strong. Is New Zealand just a utopia? No, it has its problems, like every other country. It is, yeah, arguably it's one of the most gorgeous countries in the world, just ridiculously so. But no, it's got its share of stupid people. There's anti-vaxxers and stuff like that in New Zealand as well. So we have our problems. How do you think Spores Druids would work in regular D&D? I don't actually have a lot of experience with the Spores Druid yet. I haven't played one, and I haven't really had to look over it yet. Like, I barely even skimmed Fizzban's. I'm just got a few pages open at the moment that I'm looking at for like their idea of the first world and the gods coming and putting humanoids in the planet and things like that. That's interesting to me. So I'm looking at their some of their other stuff as well, like the fairy dragons, because I'm going to be working on a fairy dragon born, and dream realms are mentioned with the gem dragons. So the plane of dreams is a thing, and they acknowledge that in fifth edition. So I'm going to be talking about the plane of dreams and dream dragons. So the moon dragons are kind of what dream dragons are like. Right, imagine a moon dragon which has transitioned over to the plane of dreams entirely, and what the plane of dreams is and what it does to a dragon, particularly in regards to the idea that multiple dragons from different realities within the prime material plane can be meshed together to create a dragon god. So the idea that gods are actually pan-dimensional entities. Yeah, I'm a Goliath hybrid hobbit. That's true. I'm a dire hobbit. Yeah, every country's got its jerks and jackasses for sure. That is, yes. Oh, actually, no. It's up on the shelf underneath the pile of drinks. But the folder is there, Zazik. Thank you very much. Oh, just recently I got this as well. Those of you who are Palladium Books fans, you'll understand the significance of the title of this. Not Night Bane, Night Spawn. I picked this up from a guy who sold this to me from the bottom of the South Island of New Zealand, pretty much one of the most remote locations from Invercargill. And yeah, he sold it for me basically at book price, at sale price. But it's very rare. It's the first printing. The reason why it's rare is because Todd McFarlane, the creator of the Spawn comic and Spider-Man with his weird webs and stuff, took exception to them using the word spawn and decided he was going to sue them if they used spawn in their title, even though it's got nothing to do with his comic books whatsoever. So they had to change it to Night Bane. And so the first printing is the only one with the word spawn on it. So I thought that was cool because I like Palladium books, and it's one of the SDC titles, which is my jam. Hey, Raymond. Yep, you caught me. Reach goal. Whoa, thank you. Does your position in at Candlekeep pay well? Are you unionised? No, we're not unionised, and I'm not even a member of the faculty. So I have to pay my upkeep in my journals that I go off and get. Much like the scribe of Candlekeep is my alter ego in the Forgotten Realm. So he exists there coterminously at the same time that I'm over here, if that makes any sense. He's a fictional, he's a storied character, like a character from the Fey realm. He exists as long as we imagine him. So what he does is he basically goes off during the summer and spring and autumn months, and he travels as far and as wide across Faerun as he can, collects all the encounters and things like that from his journeys, and then brings them back in the form of books, which he then presents as his rent upkeep to Candlekeep. He then spends the winter months in his chambers there, basically transcribing everything down and researching the monsters and things that he's seen, and checking the facts of other scholars and things to see whether their bestiaries and things are accurate. He's got a very good reputation for this, but everybody acknowledges that, kind of like Steve Irwin, one day he's not going to come back. So there you go. It's not unionised, no. You have to be a member of the clergy of the Candlekeep staff, faculty, essentially. The robed ones. He does some odd jobs as well, like he goes and collects things from Burgost, which is the township nearby Candlekeep. Quite often. He'll jump on one of the caravans that goes over to Burgost to pick up flour and jam and all sorts of other stuff. Pandimensional, paracasual, acasual, advanced existentialism has some complex words. Well, Dragonlance, they kind of acknowledge that Dragonlance is there and Greyhawk is there, but they don't want to restrict adventures and things to being just from Dragonlance or just from Greyhawk. So that's why Saltmarsh, for instance, basically that was an adventure from Greyhawk that they've said, look, you can put it anywhere you want. So they're not that tied to things being tied into, like Forgotten Realms is their main sort of setting, and they've grabbed things from other settings as they see fit and put them where they want them to. The main problem with Dragonlance is that it went through various iterations, much like Dark Sun went through various iterations, and a lot of people are fans of an earlier version of Dark Sun, for instance. They don't like the modern Dark Sun stuff, and that puts Wizards of the Coast in a bit of a bind, because what does it do? Does it retcon and piss off a lot of people who were fans of the later stuff? Because it tears apart the temporal causal flow of things that, same thing with Dragonlance. It's like, well, what era of Dragonlance do we combine and link it to? So it's a problem. 666 creepy chat. Wahaha. I like it. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Dubai. Thanks, Moonring. What would you call a ship that carry aquatic creatures over land? Also, what do you think of a world that has a bunch of small sea instead of a big one? So a bunch of small seas instead of large ones, that would be a supercontinent, right? Like a Gondwana land or something like that. You need a certain amount of water on the surface to basically create ecosystems and weather. So that it creates rain. Otherwise, when you get a very big supercontinent, you get a very big desert right in the middle of it, which can cause problems. With large sea area and like a shallow sea and lots of archipelago islands, that's quite a good option for adventures. I think Chris Perkins had an adventure world of his own creation, which was lots of archipelago islands and lots of sea travel and stuff. So that was a long running campaign of his. Also, I heard some mention that people were talking about Acquisitions Incorporated being third party. Well, Chris Perkins was the DM originally for Acquisitions Incorporated, and then Jeremy Crawford took over, both lead designers of Dungeons and Dragons. So you can't really have more of an official campaign than that, just because it's not based on a bunch of novels and stuff. I mean, I could write some novels for Acquisitions Incorporated for sure. Would that make it more official? I mean, it's pretty official. Has he studied exegitals yet? No, I don't think so. I've got no problem with the idea of like a land, an unsubmersible, so a basically a big trunk of water that travels across the land on trundling like tracks and stuff. So the aquatic version of a submarine is an unsubmarine. It's a it's a what would you call it? A overmarine, not sub, above, hypermarine. Yeah, I'm a paracausal entity. That's right. Hey, thanks, Itsy Bitsy Spider. Nice to see you. Thank you for the wonderful comments, by the way. How do I feel about blending the cosmology of the gods for a campaign? I do it all the time. So the Norse gods, the Greek gods, and all that sort of stuff all exist at the same time in my multiverse. Yeah, a lot of people didn't like Dragonlance after the Chaos War. That's basically the crux of it. So the like, I don't think we're going to see Birthright. I don't think we're going to see a lot of other sort of stuff. Like Star Frontiers is cool, but it got blended into Spelljammer. So I don't think we're going to see Star Frontiers on its own. I don't think we're going to see Spelljammer in exact form. It's been adapted to a lot of different things, Spelljammer. Thanks, Comic Nut. Hey, AJ, I have a Halloween D&D question. If Santa is a Fey Lord, then is Stingy Jack one as well? He's where jack-o'-lanterns come from. I've never heard of Stingy Jack. I've heard of Krampus. Is he related to Krampus at all? Krampus is definitely like some sort of a Fey creature. Yeah, I'd imagine they're all Fey because they're all story elements, right? So they're all they're Fey in that regard. Yeah, not much rhymes with this because exits are chittle. Vittles, maybe? Salts, zombies, and Dark Sun, yeah, desiccated creatures. A supermarine. Supramarine? I like it. Yeah, like, before you knock, yeah, exactly, Spike. Before you knock Acquisitions Incorporated, actually read the source book if you can get your hands on it. It's actually really good. The DM screen was a piece of shit, and they should be feel ashamed of themselves for releasing that because it was basically, it took the idea of, like they basically just sold an upholstered piece of cardboard. It didn't have any information on it. It was useless. But the actual source book itself is really good. Those creatures and stuff in there are really good. The social aspects of like the different character roles or corporate roles and things were really good. Because a lot of people, like I think the vast majority of people play Dungeons and Dragons for shits and giggles, for slapstick, for comedy. Like there's occasional horror and characters getting killed and stuff, but most of the time it's just like laughing and having fun with your friends. It's not a serious game. So the idea of a slapstick adventure being somehow not Dungeons and Dragons, I question what the fuck you're talking about, really, because I've played a few serious D&D games, but seriousness evolves out of the story. It's not something that you inject into the game from the very start. Otherwise, you're going to have problems with your players just not taking your game seriously. You have to factor in the fact that they need to get invested into their characters and the campaign world. And you either do that by inventing it with them as a cooperative exercise so that they're invested before they even set a character's foot in the story, or they need to build up that investment into the story as you go. But at the start of it, they're not going to take things seriously, and you need to give them time to blow off steam and get to know their character. They need to put on that suit of character clothing and walk around in it for a few blocks before they get comfortable with the vibe, and then they start to get invested in what's going on in the story. Because if you try and hit them with too much heavy stuff, like a lot of exposition and things, they're going to phase out. They can only take so much, Super Terra Walker, I like it. Question: do you think Starfinder from Paizo came out from a love of Spelljammer? Yes, but that wasn't really Paizo's baby. That was an independent creative person who spearheaded that, and she needs all the credit that she can get for it, because it was really her brainchild, and it went extremely well. I think it's probably one of the most successful products that Paizo has produced as of late. One interesting thing I've seen, a headline from Paizo this morning that was reported in some publication, that they're removing the word phylactery from liches because they consider it to be religiously offensive to Jewish people. And I have to agree. I didn't actually realize this before I read that, but it's a living term for their religion, that the pages of the Torah that they keep in this container is a phylactery, and the fact that the lich's phylactery is described as inscriptions in a box, it's pretty on the nose. I didn't actually realize that. So nowadays they're calling it the soul cage, and I think that's fine. Also, I think we should probably call it like a Horcrux, because new players to the game understand what a Horcrux is thanks to Harry Potter. So it's a universal lingo that we can just adopt, that your players will instantly understand. A phylactery is a weird word in the first place, and new players to the game probably don't understand what it is. And if it's doubly so, like, offensive to Jewish people, then fucking let's drop it. It's a stupid word. I'm quite willing to let go of things that I don't really have much attachment to. Not just because it's a thing that's been around for a long time. I can change. Supraterrane. Supraterrarium. No. Thanks. I like these treats. That's a good question, BK Dan. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, Jack-o'-lantern would definitely be an undead of some kind. Honeydrop the Unicorn. Which campaign setting would be best for new DM and players? Faerun, Ebron, or Critical Role settings? Well, okay. The fact that you've put Critical Role settings in there is probably the answer to your question there, because if you're fans of Critical Role, go with what you are familiar with. If you're watching Critical Role and you want to play that campaign world, by all means, do so. Faerun's good because it's got a lot of resources that you can draw on, but you can kind of just like make it up as you go. Ebron also has got a lot of empty space, and it's got a sort of a modern vibe to it, so you can have a lot of contemporary themes and technologies which are mimicked and included in your Ebron campaign. But also, the wilderness is very tooth and claw and can get kind of creepy and weird. Like, there's lots of war machines and things that are left behind from the previous conflict. So Ebron's got its plus sides. They've all got their plus sides. It's really up to you. You don't think Undead and Fae are mutually exclusive? Neither do I. The small seas idea is so Ixachittles can have ships. Oh, right. Yeah, sure. Well, don't forget there's Underdark seas as well. So the surface world could be dry and all the sea could be in the Underdark, which would cause a conflict from the people on the surface world draining aquifers and things to get water for the surface world. That would disrupt, like, the Ixachittles domain. So you can have that. True. There's always those who try and break the game. Hey, Mason. Oof. There's a bit of a jump there. Horcrux is copywritten. Yeah, true. But, I mean, let's face it, she ripped she ripped everything in her books off from everything else. So it's probably from something else originally. Soul Furnace. I do like that. You can also call it a soul bottle or a soul container or, soul cage or a spirit trap or something like that. Thanks, Kick-Ass Duke. What does the ordning actually do? It's So the ordning is basically just a cultural dictate that was handed down by their dragon, the giant gods. So it's their culture, really. Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of people aren't going to find it offensive, games by Mark Wolf, for sure. But some might. And why bother? You know, why use it if it's possibly offensive? I'm fine with being proactive in this sort of thing. Like, don't wait until somebody's offended and screaming at you. If you can see something as being like, oh, that doesn't really have a good, like, the origin behind that, the where it came from, I'm not really comfortable with where that came from. We can do better. We can adapt that. Like, it's a fantasy game. We don't need to borrow things from the real world that would possibly offend people. Like, you don't need to do that. I'm not saying, like, stop saying it. I'm just saying I'm not gonna, because I never really liked the word in the first place. And finding out where it came from, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's not cool. It's like the Legend of the Golem, for instance, with the little scrap of paper in its head being the source of its magic. That's from Jewish mythology. Hey, thanks, Moonring. Phylactery is also an ancient Greek amulet. Also, the description of it being a paper in a box came later and probably was a mistake. Oh, okay. Yeah, an Athos Underdark. Why not? Thanks, Gerhastig. Ew! Macho Baracho. I'm patient zero. Wipes, coughs on hand and wipes it on you. That's gross. Yeah, Greyhawk's a great setting. And don't forget, like, all of those books that exist in the past, like they're published, those settings books and things, they're great. They're fantastic resources. Like, if you want to run a fifth edition game of D&D, but using second edition world lore for your Forgotten Realms, absolutely go for it. There's nothing stopping you. It's a fantastic solution because you've got a complete world, a complete snapshot of that world at that time period. It works really well. So basically, nothing's going on until you get there, and then it's like, oh, well, here's the mayor of the city, and this is what's going on, and the politics and things like that. Heart of the Damned, I like it. Soul Gems. Animacrux, Psycrux, Animacarver, Animacarver, Psychiantra. I like it. Ghostbuster Liches. What would happen if the portal to the positive energy plane opens in the abyss and just bursts out positive energy? Well, the abyss isn't a negative energy place. That's kind of implies that the abyss is like an undead thing. It's not. It's a corrupted elemental source. So basically, you just provided the elemental aspect of the abyss additional power. So it would cause a surge of corruption. The next video that I'm going to be releasing actually is on the Alkalith, which talks about exactly that, how the abyss spreads and things, and what the Alkaliths actually do, and the reason why the Alkalith are so insidiously powerful. No, I haven't seen the Shadowversity video about potions. His take on the viability of options in combat. He's got opinions, does Shadowversity. I like that about him. He sticks by his opinions, and he's not afraid to take on other people's points of view and adjust his opinions to suit. Like, I've seen him admit that he is wrong on things in the past. Phylactery equals spiritual, oubliette. Yeah. Yeah, Brian, I understand. The point is, you don't have to care, but some people do. So if people care about that sort of thing, let them. Shut up about it. You know, that's my point. Like, it's kind of there's that contradiction of terms of, like, if somebody feels suddenly like, oh, I've been using this thing all the time and I didn't realize the origins of where it came from and I feel uncomfortable about that, so I'm not going to say it anymore. That's them taking care of their own sensibilities. They're not kowtowing to other people's possible offense. They just don't want to be an asshole. So attacking them for modifying their behavior because they don't want to be an asshole is an asshole thing to do. That's what I mean. A soul jewel, that works. What would happen if you tried to create an undead with positive energy? Well, that's the thing. It's not an undead. We need a new term for it. So what is it? It's a radiant. It's a font, something like that. It's not undead. It's overlive. It's unnaturally alive. It's still alive per se. The good example is the metallic constructs that the dragons produce from animating their breath, for instance. And that also rails right into the because Crawford said that magical breath, that dragon's breath is not magical, right? Then all of a sudden we've got constructs that use magic breath. And it's like, well, make up your fucking minds, Wizards of the Coast. Is dragon breath magical or not? So it clearly is. It clearly is. Undying. There you go. Thanks, Skippy. I think we're going to get a version of Spelljammer that nobody's particularly happy with, but I think it will work. I think we've been heading the way of the Astral Sea and spell like space jumping and things like that, like using portals and things like that, jump drives essentially. So we're going to bypass the phlogiston and just use the Astral Sea instead. So the Astral Sea is kind of interesting, and I want to like do some videos about the Astral Sea and also the Ethereal Plane, because the Ethereal Plane gets a bad rap for being really boring, but it's actually really interesting. That was thanks to my research in the Aarakocra and the Aeri. And the Aeri got killed off by these creatures which live in the Ethereal Plane. So yeah, they actually like, I don't know what the Aeri did, but they really pissed off this race of beings that live in the Ethereal Plane. And they came over to the world of Toril and they kicked the shit out of them, and then the dragons finished the job. So that's how the Aeri got wiped out. Yeah, such language from me. Yeah, the Deathless from Eberron are the corpses driven by positive energy. Exactly, Brian. See, I like that Brian and I basically have opposing views on lots of different things, but we don't shy away from talking about it and going at each other when we need to, because we do so with mutual respect. It's now an animacav in your game. Nice, I like it. Considering the assholes, if they don't change their approach, is also being an asshole. Yeah. So essentially, just let people be. That's the crux of it. Really, is just let people do what they want to do. On the one hand, don't be so offended by stuff if people don't understand that what they're saying is offensive. It's your job to inform them, maybe, but otherwise, just avoid stuff that you don't like. We don't need to be going at each other's throats all the time. Yeah, they're basically combining Spelljammer and Planescape and Star Frontiers into one setting. Yeah, that's what we're going to end up with. A version of corporate product that nobody is particularly happy with could apply to everything these days. Nah. Hey, Scorch. Look, I've got nothing personally against Jeremy Crawford. I think he's a great guy. I would sit down and game with him. I would have a drink with him. He's fine. I've got nothing personally against him. He does his job admirably well. but I have creative differences with his direction that he wants to take certain aspects of the game, and I'm very vocal about it. That is all. It's just a professional difference of opinion. That's it. I don't have beef with him personally. I've never met the guy. I've never spoken with him. Yeah, jump drives, warp drives, things like that. The difference between the ethereal and the astral plane always gets you. Okay, the astral plane exists in the living minds of all creatures that think. So it's the realm of thought and imagination. So that is why it links to the Feywild, which is the land of story, the plane of dreams, which is plane of dreams, and the outer planes, which are alignment and imagination of our mythology and afterlife. Right, so that's where things are remembered. So the afterlife of Dungeons and Dragons is the memory of and hope of eternal life. Right, so the ethereal plane is where souls go when they die. That's where you non-physically, your living entity, your soul goes. That's the prime material plane for souls is the ethereal plane. The deep ethereal plane is not accessible to living beings per se, but the border ethereal sometimes is. And the border ethereal is just a veil, a zone of an echo of memory of things as they were. So it's the soul of objects. It's the soul of things. It's the emotional and inherent content of that thing. Their fate and stuff is tied into it. So if you go into the border ethereal plane, and there was a tree there yesterday that got chopped down this morning, the tree will still be there because it's the soul of the tree is sort of there. It's an echo of it. That's why ghosts and things, when they're traveling through a haunted house or something, they act as if the house was as it used to be. Because for them, from their perspective, it still is in the border ethereal. They're walking through an echo of that house. So they're trapped into the circuit of things. The ethereal plane has a pull on any soul that goes in there to pull it to the fugue plane, which is pulling it towards the border of the astral plane. So when a soul goes through the ethereal plane, it travels quite rapidly. There's predators, there's things which help them, there's things which guide them, there's places where they can stop and refine themselves, there's measures and forces that work in the ethereal plane that stop things from going the other way and going back to the living world again. So yeah, they're very quite different planes of existence. The astral plane holds the memories of living creatures, and the souls detach from those when they travel through the astral plane, go through the color portals and go into the afterlife. That's when petitioners arrive in the afterlife through those color portals as a fresh soul that has no very vague memories of what their past life was. It's just essentially their attitude and their alignment and their drive and focus is removed from all of the attachments and commitments to their past life. If they get summoned back and return to life through a resurrection spell or something like that, they travel back through the astral plane, pick up those memories again, and bam, back into their body again. So that's how the memory thing works. So technically, there's these little floating shards of people's life memory and stuff in the astral plane, if you can find them. It's a vast realm. So there you go. That's essentially the difference between the astral and the ethereal plane. Purgatory is the fugue plane. That's where they do all the sorting of the souls and stuff. That's where Kalimvor or whatever other god of the dead sits there and casts judgment on whether you're good or bad or whatever. That's also where the controversial Wall of Souls was, where people who do not believe in any sort of god get stuck in this wall, which is a horrible concept. Hey, Mr. Si, I'm good, thanks. How are you? Dragon Turtle. Demi-liches are both an advancement and a devolution or a degeneration. So it's a physical degeneration of the lich to becoming more of a creature of magic, just pure magic. So it's really the attitude of the lich which matters in that regard, whether it's a bad thing or it's a good thing. So a lich that's wholly immersed into magic, as you know, it's becoming an entity of magic, would be perfectly fine with being a demi-lich. In fact, you could imagine a demi-lich or a lich which exists just in gems. So it's a conglomeration of gems in the form of a skull. It's got no physical body left at all anymore. And it can no longer go back to being a living entity. So it's an irreversible undeath situation for a lich. I don't think we've seen something like that, but it's quite possible, I'd imagine. Thanks, King of Dragons. Finally on break. Couldn't send you money while I was boxing high quality white powers. What? Congratulations on 100k subs. Now get to 200k. Hopefully. Social Blade reckons that it'll take me about a year and 8 months or so to get to 200,000 subscribers. Let's see. Thanks, Gearcast Duke. Wow, congrats on 100k. What's your opinion on Sly Farish's video on his book's Lazy DM series? He's taken the number 2 spot in D&D videos I watch. Behind you, of course. Happy Halloween. I think he's absolutely fantastic and deserves all the praise and recognition that he gets. I haven't been a consumer of his content, unfortunately. I've seen bits and pieces of his written stuff around, and I think I might actually have his book on order. Yeah, a lich can go back and forth. So, for instance, Samaster, the one who created the Dragon Rage mythal, he went from being a living entity to a lich and then back again. And I think Elminster possibly maybe did as well. I'm not entirely sure. So it's possible to go from being a living being to a lich to back to being a living being again. They can be resurrected. A Serac, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, there's some entities which certainly could and should be put in the Wall of Souls. And there is I have a request actually to do a video on the living wall, which is very badly named because it's not living at all. It's an undead wall. It's a freaking nightmare. It's a horrible, horrible entity. In fact, let's call that my... I might do that after I do the Alkalith video, in which case that'll be my Halloween video for you guys. What do I think of the Gem Dragon art? I think it's okay. Not as bad as the Halfling art from 5th edition. The Deep Dragon art, yeah, I'd agree the Deep Dragon art is atrocious. Terrible. Crap. Yeah, Dragon Ghost. Yep. Dragons are capable of being all types of different undead. We've got that established from a Dragon magazine from quite a while ago. So yeah, they can be dragon zombies, and they can be dragon wights, they can be dragon vampires, and they can be dragon ghosts. Anything essentially like that. Dragons do have souls, for sure. It's just that they don't go on to the outer realms and stuff. They are more elemental, and they're more prime material plane orientated. But I mean, we've got examples of dragons that adapt to all sorts of different environments, and the Feywild, the moon dragon and stuff. You know, we've got astral dragons, we've got stellar dragons. So there's dragons for everything, really. Transdimensional artifact reciprocal for defense of insubstantial substances. TARDIS. Nice. Do I know Asmodeus' real name and his true form? Just curious. Well, if you're a fan of 4th edition, yeah, he's a big serpent. Azerian. The art is too overproduced. Well, it's a style. I've watched a lot of Mr. Welch's Mystara series in bits and pieces. Mystara's not really my jam. But yeah, he's definitely a wealth of. I would say he's the number one wealth of information on Mystara. If you wanted to learn everything there is to know about Mystara, Mr. Welch would be the one to listen to. Yeah, the Gem Dragonborn look a hint too cartoonish for me. Yeah, the whole like broken horns floating off their heads sort of thing, like ion stones. I understand what they're going for there, but the practicality of it, a bit weird. A discount Jabberwocky. Yeah, I agree with you, Adrenith. I have no idea when the Spelljammer book is coming out. Really, I have no more information than you guys do. Wizards of the Coast doesn't tell me shit, and I'm happy with that. I'm not a part of their little clique. See, that's the power of being completely independent. Like, I can say literally whatever I want. They have nothing on me. Oh, thanks, Moonring. It's about time for me to go, everybody. Was there anything that I was going to talk about that I didn't talk about? No, I think that's pretty much it. Hey, thanks, Tony. Oh, thank you, Spike. From second edition, from the Guide to Hell. I see. I don't think I actually have that book. It's Fizzbang Bahamut. It's in the air. It's questionable. It's one of those things. We don't know. Oh, sorry, Mark. Did I miss one? Yes, thanks, Mark. There it is. I have a theory that Garrix is Tharizdun in dragon form, that most other dragon deities are no other deities from different pantheons. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that Tharizdun would have a dragon aspect, right? Because he was very much tied with keeping things separated, but also being present. So he was the one who set up the astral dreadnoughts to stop mortals from traveling to the outer planes unless they were already dead. So he did not want living beings to travel to the outer planes, only petitioners. So Tharizdun was very much like, nope, you do not, you stay there, we stay here. But he's made sure that he's ever present because he's entropy. He's entropy all through creation. So yeah. But because he got locked away, because he decided that the multiverse was broken and he was going to remake it back into the first world again, essentially, all the gods who had their existence now was based on these followers and things like that in the prime material plane went, no, you can't stop it all and start it again. You can't turn it off and on again because it's broken. We need to keep going. And so the current iteration of the prime material plane, if Tharizdun is ever released, will end. Yeah, so maybe he's got a dragon aspect. We don't know. Very good comment. And I think that's a good place to leave it. So a couple more videos coming up. Hey, thanks, Dragon Lord. Welcome to Gold Dragon. Yeah, onwards and upwards. See you at 200,000 subscribers. And I'll see you not next weekend, but the weekend after. Catch you later, everyone.